You sat here not so long ago and said this is going to be, for the resistance, this is going to be where we're going to focus. This is the next step to stop this health care bill. By golly, you did it.
We are doing it. This zombie keeps clawing its way out of the grave.
I know.
We need to be ready with the chainsaw by the grave for this thing to come and try to eat us. They are dead set, these Republicans, on passing something, whatever it is, no matter how many people get hurt. They would rather rip the healthcare system to shreds than lose. And so our job, anyone who cares about, their own health, their family's health, all the people who would be hurt by this, all the seniors whose nursing home care is risk, all the kids who might hit their lifetime limit before they get out of the NICU after they're born. I mean, everyone has something big at stake in this fight, and we just cannot let up our vigilance for a second. We've seen the horror movies. These monsters come back.
So you're saying you want people to know it is not dead.
It is not, well, I would say it is undead.
It
is it is dead, right? But
it's not alive.
It's not alive, but it is still lurching around, and it is still dangerous. And these guys, when a major party runs on something over and over, gets total control of the government, it tends to find some way to do it. You just can't bet against them. Even though it's not clear what their path is at this point, you just cannot let your eye off the ball.
Right. And we learned that in the House, right? At one time we celebrated and thought Mr. Paul Ryan
by golly,
stepped
he did.
in it. Yeah. And couldn't get the votes, and so it was dead, but then turned around and brought it back.
And remember, Obamacare took a year plus to pass. It was March of 2010, not 2009, when the Affordable Care Act was passed into law. The one thing here, the saving grace, is that there will be a moment when it is clear that we have moved past at least this moment in the threat in this battle. And that is that because Republicans insist on using special budget rules to pass their health care bill so that it can't be filibustered by Democrats, once they pass the next year's budget rule, which everyone, assuming it says, okay, this year's budget is going to allow us to pass a tax cut with a special rule, then the special rules allowing them to pass healthcare will expire, and they won't be able to do this for another year.
When will that be?
Well, nobody knows. If there's anything they like more than taking away healthcare from regular people, it's giving tax cuts to ultra rich people. So they were trying to do both at once. Now they're trying to do them one at a time. There's a lot of impatience on the far right to move on to the tax cuts for billionaires.
Yeah.
So they used to say that they were going to have this thing passed, the next budget passed before the August recess, but now, of course, everything's moved back. It could be into this fall. I mean, we have to fight that, too. Their budget, actually, the one that Trump proposed, we don't know what Congress is going to do. Trump proposed hundreds of billions of dollars in cuts in Medicaid in his budget on top of his proposal for cuts in Medicaid in his healthcare plan. So that's going to be a fight, too. But once they've actually moved on to the next year's budget and to the tax reform fight, the rules are that they can't actually go back to healthcare until they pass the 2019 budget, which will be a while from now.
Right.
So that's the future. But right now, we are still in the midst of this thing.
Okay. So first they talked about repeal and replace. They couldn't get the votes. Then they said, we're just going to repeal. Now, who knows, after yesterday's lunch with Trump, where he says, no, I want you to go back to replace and repeal and replace. So McConnell says, we're going to have a vote next week. We're going to have a vote to proceed. What is that all about?
So when you have a vote in the House, you just vote. When you vote in the Senate, first you have to vote to vote. So you have a vote on what's called the motion to proceed. Under these, the special budget rules they're using, you only need 50 Republican votes in the Senate to proceed to the final.
50 because Mike Pence would break a tie.
Exactly, 50 because Mike Pence would break a tie.
Right.
So if they pass the motion to proceed, then they enter this sort of final phase. There's 20 hours of debate, which is all the debate we're ever going to get on the bill to.
There's been none so far.
Better make it a good debate. It's going to be quick.
And then there's something called vote-a-rama, where each side can offer as many amendments as they like. Now, Mitch McConnell's final sales pitch is, I don't care if you like this, if you hate this, whatever. I just want you to get to vote-a-rama, and then we can amend it. We can just amend it. It'll be fine. Right. Whatever you want will be fine. That's a sucker's game. Do not accept that for a second. If we get to vote-a-rama, that is dangerous. At that point, they're going to argue to senators who voted to start the debate that they've already voted for it. They shouldn't flip-flop and vote against it.
Yeah.
The goal is to stop them from ever getting to that final voting period. And that's why it's so crucial that in the last moment, 3 Republican women came out against voting on the motion to proceed. We need to hang on to their votes. And frankly, every Republican senator should be politically pressed until they answer to their voters and say whether they would vote to go forward with this thing.
They have to. The senators look. All of them are not that smart, but you got to be pretty dumb not to know what Mitch McConnell is up to here. Correct? I mean, he's trying to sucker them in to voting to proceed. So then they get on the floor, and then he's wily enough that he can get a bad bill out, and having voted to proceed, they're going to be in effect, even if they voted against it, making that bad bill possible, correct?
That's exactly it. Yeah, then they'd be on the hook. Any Republican who votes for the motion to proceed is voting to throw tens of millions of people off their health care.
Right.
Plain and simple. There's no version of this bill that doesn't do that.